Hey, buddy. You okay?
What?
How you doing?
Captain America, 1979.
Welcome to the Hubbubbery, featuring your pop culture-obsessed, movie-loving hosts, Dan and Hunter. I'm Nigel Fiddlesticks, your reluctant MC. Welcome to the show.
That is correct. The 1979 Captain America made-for-TV movie. It's not the Captain America most people know. You know what? I think this is something we should share with everybody out there.
I'm not sure if that's a great idea, Dave.
Oh, we're gonna share. Oh, sharing is caring.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Yeah, let's do this thing. Steve Rogers, our elected hero, cruises lazily along the 1970s California coast in his van. Definitely not comic book accurate 1940s Brooklyn. Radiating an aura of, I'd rather be painting, Steve ponders to himself. Well, time to visit a random surf shop and sketch.
Okay, so let's talk a minute about this surf shop scene. So Steve just gets out of the Marines, and then he's traveling up the Pacific Coast Highway here.
Sure.
And he just happens to stop at this surf shop for what reason?
Well, apparently, when he stops, he asks this fellow if he has any mail.
Yeah. And of course, he does. He does.
Miraculously, he does have mail.
Right.
Now, it's kind of funny is like Steve, so we know that he just got out of the Marines. This guy knows that, so I guess he does know Steve. We can see that after 4 years, he gets about, 2 letters?
Steve Rogers, very popular person.
Yeah.
Yes. I wonder, do you think he has multiple surf shops, or is this his only surf shop?
Oh, yeah. Maybe he's going to all the surf shops to get all of his mail.
Yeah, I guess that's just how it is.
Up and down the highway.
This guy looks suspicious. Something tells me the person in that car isn't there just to pick up the latest in Steve's seaside sketches. Maybe he's a friend of Jeff, who Steve is talking to here. Good old Jeff, alive and well. Totally alive Jeff. Well, back on the road.
Thousand Oaks, 11 miles, and we watch every single mile as it plays out. I feel like this should be called B-roll, the movie.
Yeah. As we'll see in Captain America, most communication between characters happens via walkie-talkie.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Oh, I was just saying that we're not actually recording audio on scene. It just kind of makes it easier for us to figure out our lines if we can ADR them in post.
Ugh, I'd like to know what they're dumping on this poor road. Is that actually oil?
Oh gosh, I hope not. Down the hill we go. Yeah.
This is straight out of Scooby-Doo. We have cliff dive number 1.
Van crash boom.
Slam kaboomer. Okay, so Steve, at this point, he seems mainly annoyed just by the infrastructure of California's side roads.
Oh, well, I guess he's okay. Enter the mysterious Dr. Simon Mills.
Did you get my letter, Steve? I've been mailing all the surf shops up and down the Pacific Coast Highway.
Everything we do here is based on your father's primary research. Your father developed and perfected the ultimate steroid. He synthesized it from his own adrenal gland.
Oh.
Ugh.
Oof.
Ugh.
A super hormone. He called it FLAG, full latent ability gain.
Not sure I'm following you.
I think we'll have to take a break and talk about the super soldier serum
Right.
versus flag. So we know with this Captain America, clearly we're in the 1970s versus the original Captain America, 1940s.
And it's not Brooklyn, it's the Pacific Coast Highway.
Old Steve was a scrawny kid who wanted to do nothing more than to fight for his country. Old Steve was injected with a super soldier serum.
And new Steve here, just out of the Marines, already jacked up, so not really going to be getting that transformation sequence on this movie's $150,000 budget.
No.
Here we get FLAG, which stands for Father's Loins Are Good.
Ugh.
Actually, I don't think it's a full latent ability gain. And I stumbled over that because, you know what, really easy to say.
It rolls off the tongue.
So it's steroids made from dad glands. Is that right? The OG Captain America
Yeah.
glands in a steroid shot.
Yeah, they really get into the glandular technology in this movie.
So you're saying they get granular with the glandular technology?
They do.
Is that what you would say?
There's a granularity to the glandular side of the technology.
So super soldier serum, get that out of here.
Yeah. That's something that comes up in Marvel Comics forever.
Right.
All the time. But you know what? Glands.
Yes, glands.
Glands and steroids.
All right, back to the movie.
Okay, so Dr. Mills shows Steve how flag works via super mice. He claims that this mouse is able to lift 2,100 pounds.
Steve seems to share our skepticism.
Unwavering, Dr. Mills shows Steve a second mouse going super speed. Then he shares that all the mice die from the steroid and have been for 6 months. Sorry, PETA.
We're still using the original formulations left us by your father. All I'm asking is that you let us do a few tests.
But Steve clearly doesn't like tests. You know, Dan, I'm starting to get the hint that he hasn't passed many of them.
It doesn't look like it. Oh, enter our semi-sort of love interest, Dr. Windy Day, which also sounds like Windy Day. Something that might appeal to a professional nature doodler. Steve tells how his dad died, and all he got was a letter from the president.
And all I had left was a letter from the president, a man I didn't even know.
That he doesn't even know.
What a jerk.
President of what?
Yeah.
He injected himself with the serum, and it worked. He dedicated his life to helping the little guy in our society.
You mean he was a super crime fighter?
Well, I guess you could say that.
I wouldn't, but I guess you can. And then Steve monologues on his lack of enthusiasm about much of anything.
Meh.
Now I just want to get out on the road, look at the faces of America, maybe get some down on canvas.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Ah, yes, he goes by many names.
Captain America.
Steve Rogers.
The First Avenger.
And in this movie...
Beach Bum. If we go back to the tenets of Captain America, again, 1940s, obviously a time of patriotism, a time of great strife. So Steve is motivated and doing everything he can to join forces and fight for his country.
Right. And in contrast to this movie, now, Steve did just get out of the Marines, so, you know...
True.
He
served,
a
soldier.
Right, he did do that.
All right, check.
But post-Marines, he's like, all right, I'm done with this. You know, just doesn't really care about much of anything. He doesn't want to even look forward to the weekend, whatever that means.
I don't want to look forward to weekends. I want every day to be the same.
He wants every day to be the same.
He just wants every single day to be the next boring day that comes up. I guess I kind of see the difference between the two Captain Americas, 1940s, 1979.
There is definitely a comparison-contrast situation happening.
Well, when you just want to find who you are.
Yeah.
On the open road.
On the open road.
I guess.
Sketching for a living.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
I just want to kick back and find out who I am.
Carry on, Steve.
Simon Mills, Idea Man. Don't worry, he has a plan.
What do we do?
I don't know.
Or maybe he doesn't.
Okay, so where were we? Ah, yes, he's about to find his dead friend. Oh, spoiler.
Hey, Jeff? Steve? Hey, Jeff? Jeff?
Jeff?
Steve?
Hey, Jeff?
Jeff?
It's Steve. Jeff? Jeff?
Are you dead? It's Steve. I hope this isn't a test. Jeff, you know how I feel about tests.
Catherine.
No, Steve.
Well, that's a hell of a thing. Now we move on to the character actor cavalcade with Steve Forrest, Lance the Gulp, and Joseph Ruskin. So, Steve Forrest, aka Lou Brackett in this movie, is our antagonist in this wild adventure ride. He wants the microfilm that dead Jeff swiped. They explain what went wrong, why they didn't get it, and Brackett shows his displeasure with a scowl. It's
a scowl off. We learned that the microfilm contained the linear time equation, which actually is a real thing. Good job, movie. The bad guys need this to make bomb go boom. Why exactly? Well, the movie doesn't really think we need to know that, so let's just move on.
Hey, wait a minute. Can I ask a question? How are you involved in all this?
I'm in charge of the project Hayden was on.
I thought you were in charge of the flag project.
I'm in charge of several projects.
Yeah, we gotta talk about Mills for a second.
Okay.
He's the man of mystery,
Right.
a man of intrigue, a man nobody seems to know exactly what it is that he does. And we know this because multiple times it is asked, what is it that you do?
Tell me something. What's he do?
I'm not sure exactly what he does, but I do know he talks to the president a lot.
We did ask Wikipedia to clarify.
That's right. Wikipedia tells us that he's a research biochemist and intelligence official. I mean, I guess I get that from the movie, but man, that sounds more official than I think the movie ever actually explicitly states.
Yeah, it actually would have made it much easier to just say those words. But there's some other things that we can infer by watching this movie. He's a costumer.
Right. Helicopter pilot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Dr. Simon Mills, very talented, multifaceted, but sort of an enigma.
He is an enigma. He just always knows to pop in or pop up whenever he might be needed. Similar to Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. However, it's pretty apparent that he is not Nick Fury, and this is not S.H.I.E.L.D.
All right, so back to Dead Jeff. Dead Jeff has a daughter.
What about his daughter, Tina?
She's at USC. We haven't been able to locate her yet.
This top-notch government agency simply has not been able to locate.
Inspector Tina Hayden's downstairs.
Oh, there she is now. Steve then, at Dead Jeff's house, gets a phone call from an anonymous caller.
Steve? Is this Steve Rogers? We feel like we should finally start the movie now. So, during the long exposition, we were there and we didn't get a chance to kill you along with your friend Dead Jeff. If you're amenable, would you mind meeting up with us so we can finish the job? For gas station murder, press 1. For motorbike murder, press 2.
Steve, you big dummy, not cliff dive number 2.
Well, that was Captain America on the Hubbubbery. Thank you all for joining us today. We've had a lot of fun. Hope you have too. What? Oh, I guess that's not it.
Yes, Steve Rogers, after becoming Dead Steve, is now brought back to life and becomes Steve Austin, the $6 million man. Okay, hold on. This clearly is a product of the 1970s. $6 Million Man was one of the big shows of the mid to late 70s. I mean, if you're familiar with it, Steve Austin was an astronaut, a pilot, and he crashes, and, they have this whole opening thing where, they're like, they can rebuild him, and they have the technology, they're going to make the world's first Bionic Man, the $6 Million Man, and they give him all these parts. Well, this moment in the movie does feel very similar.
Yeah, and I think one of the producers of $6 Million Man is a producer on here. So obviously they were bringing some stuff in.
They were
totally original.
Maybe some of the props.
Yeah.
This also feels a bit like like an episode of Chips. Which was the California Highway Patrol motorcycle show that was so popular in the swing and disco 70s.
Yeah, and I think some of the music too of the 70s, this feels very much in the same vein as a lot of those shows back then.
Oh yeah. You've got so there's this has got the team of Carpenter and Post. Mike Post, especially these guys, they were pretty much the people who brought us the soundtrack of television in the 70s. The Rockford Files, the A-Team, Chips, Magnum PI.
They were the go-to team.
They were the go-to team. In fact, there's certain moments in this where it's like, that sounds like the theme from the A-Team, or that sounds like the music from Chips. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of it wasn't used in either one of those.
Yeah, and I think too, even when Steve Rogers uses his powers, the sound effect that comes up is eerily similar to the sound effect from $6 Million Man when he uses his own powers.
When they didn't have the ability to show like a super thing happening, they would just play an audio cue, so you would know, this is a super thing.
This is it.
Like, jumping.
Yeah, hearing something.
Hearing.
That tanker been pumping, baby.
They would play that sound.
Yeah. That's pretty accurate.
You know,
That was good.
I missed my calling.
Yeah, Foley artist.
Well, anyway, from the 70s to the 70s. Let's get back into this.
All right, let's do it.
So, the only way to save Steve now is to give him the flag serum. Wendy, she's not so sure. Dr. Mills, he doesn't care. Whoops.
Oh. So long story short, Steve is alive again.
And Steve is reluctant again.
As soon as you're well enough, we'll start testing.
No, Simon, we won't.
What do you mean?
We will not test.
Although, it's a bit late for that. He's been dad-glanded.
Gross still. After two failed make it look like an accident, the baddies pivot to a more hands-on approach, courtesy of the classic meat locker trope.
When the California cliffsides fail to take out your victim, reach for a heaping helping of meat locker.
You want to live as long as possible, don't you?
Yeah, I guess so.
Little do they know, it's time for slab beef shove.
It's like they're trying to find a hunk of meat in a room full of hunks of meat.
Now, there's 3 suspicious characters down here at Pearson Brothers meatpacking plant. I think they're getting a bad case of frostbite.
Oh, wait. We gotta stop this for a second.
Yeah.
The line here is they're getting a bad case of frostbite.
Yeah.
I feel like as one-liners go, that one was pretty weak.
Yeah, I don't know if this is just because the 70s and they weren't quite into the one-liner craze that would become all of the 80s movies, but we should give this a shot. Let's try to improve this. Tell them they'll just be hanging out.
Tell them they can meet me later.
Tell them to warm up the grill.
Tell them we've hooked a big one.
Tell them they're on ice.
Tell them dinner is served.
Tell them to stay frosty.
Tell them these guys are past their expiration date.
Tell them there are 3 guys here chilling out permanently.
Tell them I've got 3 slabs of prime grade A justice waiting to be picked up.
How does it make you feel, Steve?
If I move this pencil too quickly or hold it too tightly.
Oh my gosh, did you see that? He broke the pencil in half.
Oh, with great power comes great responsibility. I heard that somewhere. Well, anyway, now Steve's got to go back to Dick Blick.
Yeah, gotta get a new pencil.
I'm authorized to offer you a job. Very much like mine.
You mean it's vague?
Perhaps not. Well, back to the action. At a top-secret weapons testing center, dirt road.
It seems Steve's reluctance in our story is starting to wane. Good news for us, at an hour into the movie, our hero finally shifts into hero mode.
Yes, and here the first step of hero mode, Steve is reunited with his one true love, his van.
We borrowed it from the people you had repairing. We finished the job and added a few little touches of our own.
This thing scramble eggs on Sunday, too?
And it whistles Dixie.
Whistles Dixie.
Whistles Dixie.
Whistles Dixie.
What else?
Sean Connery
made an appearance.
Yeah.
He pops in as
You know, you never know when you might have a Sean.
Yeah, they should have brought him in just like to, walk by.
Yeah.
Whistles Dixie.
Yeah.
And then keep on going.
Yeah. Anyway, we have better things to discuss.
Yeah. And your shield, it's bulletproof and a deadly weapon. If by deadly, I mean it happens to distract your enemy as it wobbles around feebly in the air and you take them out as they stare at it.
That's right. Captain America's iconic shield is relegated here to the status glorified frisbee.
Now, let's jump some of those National Security Laboratory Weapons Test Center dirt bike ramps and give this movie an action sequence. And we use action sequence loosely here. Let's pad the movie's runtime.
Welcome back to Motocross 79. Steve Rogers nearing the ramp and oh, what a lovely, gentle, quite ordinary landing.
You know, nothing says superhero like getting chased by a helicopter while riding a bike that looks straight out of a cereal box promotion.
The bad guys close in. While Steve should be an easy target here, he successfully evades the gunfire and becomes
Mac Chopper Swiper.
Steve, now fully enamored with his newfound abilities, wonders to Dr. Mills,
How much more in game will there be?
As he now comes to terms with the man he's become.
Time to kick this plot into high gear. Grab some spandex and...
Be Captain America, Steve. Jam Captain America down their throats.
Ooh, yeah. Not sure about that. No jamming. No throats.
Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Brackett also levels up his wardrobe.
And here he comes, ladies and gentlemen, Brackett, strutting down the villainy runway.
That's right, Hunter. This season's hottest look, the Dead Man Switch. Functional, intimidating, and says, I'm holding everyone hostage, emotionally and literally.
Isn't that what being a villain is all about?
It is, Hunter. It is.
Oh, and here he is, folks, the man of the hour, Captain America himself. Nothing says justice is closing in quite like that outfit. Dan, would you just look at that ensemble?
Oh, absolutely, Hunter. He's not just sneaking in, he's announcing his presence with an outfit so loud it's probably visible from space. If the villains don't surrender immediately, they might just be blinded by the sheer shine of that spandex. Hijinks ensue as the classic 1970s action montage shows off Cap's newfound abilities, like big jumps, more big jumps, and even bigger jumps.
Cap finds the nuke scientist guy, gets the proof he needs, saves Tina and Wendy, and maybe kills the nuke scientist guy?
Wait, what? Is he dead? Better check his pulse to make sure. Through your gloves. Well, okay. I guess we'll never know. Moving on.
Steve, Dr. Mills, and Wendy have an intense 5 W's discussion.
At noon, they all die. Who dies? Where? Why?
What?
What? Where?
But why?
Why?
How?
The question is what?
Hello?
When?
Why?
Where?
Huh?
I mean, what if they're traveling by jet?
Wyatt said pulled out. That doesn't sound like an airplane to me. Simon, how big is a neutron bomb?
About 2,000 pounds. You'd need a truck.
Right.
And trucks pull out.
Pull out. It's...
Do they know?
I don't think so.
We're looking for an Andreas oil truck within about 500 miles.
Ah, good. We got there. But how?
And why?
Let's find out from national security what the prime secured targets are in that area.
Dr. Mills here finally lands on what we think Brackett is after.
The Phoenix International Gold Repository, 1.4 billion in bullion.
Ah, yes, billion bullion. Billions.
Let's get back to the chopper. Anyway, they find the truck and Brackett is in there, leisurely catching up on his reading.
Hey, Dan, what do you think he's reading there? I mean, it's a pretty hefty book, right? Do you have any ideas?
War and Peace?
How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Chicken Soup for the Villain's Soul.
A Captain America Compendium.
The Little Engine That Could.
Bombs for Dummies.
Where's Waldo? Captain America boards the truck where he's inevitably going to overtake the driver to stop the truck safely like a true superhero. Oh, wait, nope, never mind. It's time to weaponize carbon monoxide. That's the American way, right?
After quickly dispensing with the henchman, Cap realizes that Brackett has a dead man switch. Ooh, Captain America and Mills take quick action. Thankfully, Mills has his traveling doctor pack. Oh, very convenient. So they can save Brackett from the carbon monoxide poisoning that Steve himself caused, and in turn, they save the day.
You're welcome, Brackett. No hard feelings about all that poisoning.
As we reach our conclusion, Steve is finally at peace with this whole Captain America thing and decides he needs a spandex upgrade to achieve super crime fighter status, like his father before him.
And freeze frame. All right, well, there it is. The 1979 made-for-TV Captain America movie.
Ooh, yeah, I feel like you should have done this.
Movie.
Yeah.
Funny thing, that's not the only 1979 made-for-TV Captain America movie.
Oh, joy.
No. They made another one.
Okay.
Came out later in the year, and that one had Christopher Lee as the villain.
Oh, that sounds like it's probably a lot better.
It has more action?
Okay.
And maybe we'll talk about that at a later date.
Maybe. Let us know if we should.
So, yeah, I mean, this is very 1970s. During the 1970s, there were a lot of attempts at getting superhero TV shows and movies off the ground.
Right.
For Marvel, it started with the Spider-Man TV show with Nicholas Hammond, which eventually kind of switched over into the Japanese Spider-Man show, which is a whole other thing and fascinating. And then 1978, we had The Incredible Hulk. In fact, The Incredible Hulk started with 2 made-for-TV movies. So the 1970s, we had Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then we had the Hulk. And they thought, hey, Captain America.
Right.
Clearly, they didn't have quite as much budget.
And as we discussed earlier, it really borrowed from a lot of what was happening at the time, and felt a little bit less like a superhero show, a little bit more like just some of those dramas that were going on TV at the time.
Yeah, this is a movie that, I mean, being the 1970s and being filmed in California, they were just like, we'll just set it in 1970s California. Vans are popular. The Pacific Coast Highway's right there. Let's make a show.
So what do you think the audience was here? So the comic books, very different audience. How old were you when this came out?
Okay, this came out, I was 12.
Okay.
And I remember very distinctly watching this. So.
Okay, well, you watched it, I assume, because you read the comic books. Mm-hmm. How excited were you?
Very, very excited. 12-year-old me. I mean, this is post. Okay, so Star Wars came out in '77. So it was a great time, to be a kid and watching these movies and shows. Right. And as soon as that van burst open and he came out with that big stupid helmet on his head, I was like, kind of a letdown. And also, 12-year-old me was a turd when I saw his not comic book accurate costume. At the end, he's in a costume that is pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Minus the helmet. Right. Pretty spot on to the comic books. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I ever actually saw that until we rewatched this because
you turned it off.
I think I turned it off or
nope.
I don't know, went to bed or
So it seemed like it was more made for people who watched those dramas of that time than people who maybe would have been reading the Captain America comic, and it just didn't really find an audience.
Honestly, I do have a little bit more of appreciation for it because I get what they're trying to do. He's not a troubled hero, just a guy trying to get by. We do find out about his, the thing with his dad, and it is kind of fun to make up our own story that like his dad maybe was the original Captain America.
Yeah, right. And we watched this movie a number of times for the show here, so I think after maybe 3 viewings, I fully understand exactly what they were going for. Still, there's some confusing moments and odd selection of dialogue. I think they legitimately did try, so I can appreciate that.
And this does have a fandom, and I do kind of get that because, again, you can appreciate the fact that it's like, okay, well, there wasn't very many superhero attempts at that point in time. Mm-hmm. We talk about the budget. I mean, there's not very much budget.
They're pretty limited
here.
And, Reb Brown has taken that mantle of Captain America. He goes to Comic-Cons even through today.
He still talks to people about it. He still signs autographs. In a way, it's kind of cool that it has its audience and has its fans. And I'm not going to bash the movie. I mean, we had fun with it. Hey, any movie you can have fun with, I think, is a movie worth watching.
That's right.
We've got a little something we'd like to do called the final hubbub.
The price of admission moment in movies that are wildly successful, let's say. The moments that make it worth actually seeing the movie, worth paying the ticket to go. So with 1979 Captain America, I think we take a bit of a different angle at this, but I think there are a lot of moments in this movie that we liked that made us laugh. A number of times.
There's some standouts.
Yeah. Do you want to share yours?
Yes. In fact, a scene that I had to watch multiple times because it made me laugh when Dr. Mills explains that Dead Jeff is the director of one of the most secret and carefully guarded projects this nation has.
Its code name is Zeus.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. That's sort of the point. Perhaps the writers were thinking, I think this would be a funny line.
Right.
But it wasn't really directed or delivered that way.
No, it was not. No, Steve actually had to tell him, nope, that doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Mine, when he was in the hospital bed and he realized after a number of attempts on his life that someone was trying to get him.
But 2.
Yes.
Getting pushed off the cliff.
Right. Yeah. Now he's starting to wise up a little bit. He sits there and talks to Dr. Mills and says, "Who's mad at me?"
What's going on, Simon? Who's mad at me?
And it's just kind of The spectacle of Captain America kind of in your mind, having this guy just very sort of wimpy-like, saying, who's mad at me?
Who's mad at me?
Yeah, it's just, I loved it so much. And every single time it came on, I had to rewind it a few times. It just sort of filled that special part of your heart with joy.
It does warm your heart, doesn't it? That is the final hubbub from each of us. I'd like to hear what yours might be.
Yeah, you have a special moment or something that made you laugh about Captain America, please let us know in the comments.
Well, there you have it, the 1979 made-for-TV movie Captain America starring Red Brown.
We had a lot of fun doing it. We hope you had a lot of fun watching it. If you did, please share, like, subscribe.
Absolutely. We would love to hear from you, so please join in the comments and join in the hubbub.
And until next time,
I'm Dan.
And I'm Hunter, and this was the Hubbubbery.
You've been watching the Hubbubbery. Comment, subscribe, and hit like. You know, it's funny. Like used to just mean you liked something. Now it's currency, isn't it? Like me, validate me, be my friend. Social media, eh? Oh, bother, I'm rambling, aren't I? Right, this has been Nigel Fiddlesticks for the Hubbubbery. Ta-ta for now!